Welcome to another exciting episode of Doug's Electronic Repair Bench.
Hi, afternoon YouTube. Back with you once more. Yay! I got to messing around with the breadboard last night. I didn't put it on film or on video. I'm not sure why I keep saying film, but I do. It started out fairly well. Wasn't the worst thing I'd done. But it wasn't the best either. What I'm trying to do is this 555 AM transmitter. I hooked it up like I thought it was supposed to be. Well, you can see by the picture, it's not the clearest in the world, and of course I was working off the video. He didn't really provide a schematic or parts list or anything like that. And I think what I'm going to do is go over the whole circuit. What I did, basically, I had it hooked up with no input, no audio input to the transmitter, and seemed to work fine. I mean, I was powering it with my little power supply there on the board and putting 12 volts in. It was working, I thought, fairly well. I mean, as far as with no input, there's, you really can't tell what's going on, but I mean, there's no it was powering the circuit, no problem at all. And so then I got the radio out and I took my phone. I've got some tunes on the phone, so I couldn't find my little digital recorder. I don't know where it went, but I thought, well, I'll just use that and have some audio from that. And so I hooked it up the way I thought it should be. And I noticed the first thing when I turned it on is the power supply no longer was able to keep up with it. The little readout there, it was on 12 volts before. When it was on, it stayed there. This time it went down to 4 volts, and that's usually an indication that the little power supply is being overwhelmed, overpowered, whatever. So I got my stouter 12 volt power supply out, hooked that up, and even that seemed to be a little dim on the LED. So I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on here, but definitely not right. So then I got to feeling around on the chip and things like that. The chip was very hot, very hot, and so I disconnected, obviously, and I'm going to give you an indication here of how I had it hooked up, and then what I'm going to do is completely tear it apart and rehook it up again with, you'll see when I show it to you, I've got it too squished together, and there's too many wires close together, especially for my poor eyesight, and it's kind of impossible to keep track of what's what, things like that. So I think there's just a short in it. I think that's all that's wrong with it. I don't know if I fried the chip or not, but I've got plenty of more of those where that came from. So that's probably what I'll do is I'm going to rewire it and start fresh, and I'll start with no input and just check and see if everything seems to be hunky-dory. I could not detect the carrier frequency when I had the radio on with it just with no input. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I couldn't, I've got a 47K. I think that's what I have, 47K ohm resistor in place of that pot. So that should put it somewhere around the middle of the band, I would think. If 100K is spreading the band from 540 to 1600 something, that should put it right in the middle somewhere. So I was checking pretty much all the way through the middle and couldn't detect a carrier. So what I'm going to do again is, go over this and see what we got. So let me stop yapping and we'll get to looking. Alright, I think what you can see there is the like I said, it's all bunched together, and I can't really tell if it's even with the with the magnification. It's hard to see if I'm touching somewhere that I shouldn't be touching or what. So everybody might notice that that's one of those new safety caps. It's a .001, so that's what I needed for the 1 nanofarad. So that's why I used it. It was just handy. Doesn't matter. It's capacitor, no matter if it's safety cap or not. Like I said, I had this power supply going, and I don't really need that power supply. The other one should handle it. So let me get it out of the way first off, and we'll set it down here out of the way. And let's see. I've got this is my antenna. It's on pin 3. So I have basically 1, 2, 3. That's actually right. So I'm going to take that out. We reuse that later. This here is my positive. It was on pin 8, and that is correct. But, and here this may be the whole problem. I can see it right now. It's going to be difficult for you to see, but this clip lead may have been making contact with the resistor over on pin 7, and that wouldn't have been good. So I'm thinking that may have been the problem, but I'm still going to go ahead and tear it apart, and I think that's the best course of action. In fact, I know that was the case. So there's part of the problem, if not all. This is the capacitors. Let me bring them up here. The two 10 microfarad capacitors have the negative, let's see, no, the positives tied together there because they both went to pin 4? No, pin 5. Yeah, pin 5. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's pin 5. Okay, that's where they went, pin 5. That was correct. You can see if you look at the here's pin 5. There's one of the 10, and there's the other one. They're both tied together right here. That's what I'm talking about right there. So that was correct. And I don't really see a problem with that at all. So this is my ground. I do believe pin 1. Yeah, pin 1 is the ground. And it's hard to see, but it goes various places. There's the power supply ground, I think. I think that was the power supply ground. So, and it also went over to the output. That was the ground for the input of the audio input. So that was correct. So anyway, you can see here what kind of situation I've got, and I think this part I may leave like it is because I think it's correct. I'm going to go over it, make sure it is correct, but I think it's pretty much right. So what I'm going to do is find another short jumper and put that right there. That's going to be my power. Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to see some possible problems here with this. Let me let me go over this off camera and see what I can find out, and I'll show you or tell you what I figured out. Alright, I'm back with you once more. I have it rewired again. I have a new chip in. I think maybe the old chip was bad. I do have it, as you can see, the power supply is reading 12 volts. It is hooked up. I don't have the audio input going to it at the moment, but I did there a while ago while I had off camera. I went through the whole band, couldn't hear anything. So, and with the antenna being right on top of the radio, it should work. I don't know what I've got wrong, but I've got it hooked up like it's in the diagram. And the first time I hooked it up, I must have had a short because I couldn't get the power supply to go up past 3 volts or something like that. So right now it seems to be working. I say working, what I mean by that is it's not shorted out to the point where the power supply won't power it. So I want to try this one more time on camera and just see. I have my phone again playing you can hear that. Well, that's the end of that one. Let me see if I can find another Dream On. That's kind of a long song. See what we get with that. Alright, now that should be feeding it into this. Alright, I went over basically the entire band from 1390 up to 540. Don't hear anything. Thing's still at 12 volts. I don't know if it's working. I don't know, maybe that's why it's at 12 volts, because it's not really working. Let me turn this off. Alright. What I'm going to do is double check with the other transmitter, make sure it's working. You know, just to see if that phone is actually putting out anything. So let me get it out real quick. Now, see if we can find the. See if I can get this to power up first. There's 12 volts. Yeah, as you can see, that kicks that down a little bit, which is fine. It's normal. Let's get a radio on here. There it is. So the phone is outputting. Alright, you can see that works. The phone is outputting, so it has to be something else. some other problem. And I have no idea what it is. But I did see the guy do this, and you know, whether or not, you know, he was using this actual circuit on the breadboard, it's kind of hard to tell. That's just have to take his word for it. That's what he did. But like I said, it doesn't seem to work very well for me. Now, so what do we learn here? Well, like I said, I was telling Carl, you can't always believe everything you see on the internet. So I'm going to consider that a lesson learned and move on down the line. I may try to find another, there's many circuits on there for using a 555 timer for AM transmitter. I believe I was told by Carl and Robert both that the 555 won't oscillate high enough for AM transmission, but that it does use harmonics. And so, you know, like I said, this guy here had his antenna pretty far away from the radio, and it was still picking up pretty good. As you can see, I had mine laying right on top of the radio, and it wasn't doing anything. So I don't know what else to do. I'm going to have to call it quits, I think. So let me get back to the other camera, and we'll end this up. Alright, now you've seen me play around like a fool with this stuff. Like I said, I don't know enough about it to know if I've got it hooked up right. I'm going to have to check some other circuits out. Like I said, there's many of them that use the 555 timer for this purpose. And I thought maybe this would be a good one because, you know, the way his worked out pretty darn good. And I'm going to put a link to his video in this video in the description below. You will be able to check it out, see what you think. But for me, it did not work. I could not get any kind of signal at all on the radio that sounded anything like music or even a just blank carrier. I couldn't hear that. So, you know, like I said, lesson learned. Pretty darn sure I got it hooked up. I've double checked everything, and you know, I've got it hooked up like the diagram. There was one thing I wasn't clear about with the diagram, and that was the connection between pin 2 and pin 6. Now it looks to me like there is a connection there, so I just put a jumper across there. I tried it both ways. I tried it with the jumper and without the jumper, so it didn't work either way for me. So, and all the rest of it is just like I said, just like that diagram is. So anywho, that's it from here. Beautiful day here on this Wednesday. Low humidity. Temperatures in, if it's in the 80s, it's in the low 80s. I think it's in the 70s though. So you can't get much better than that. And you guys have a great, great day wherever you're at. And I will talk to you later. And thanks. There you go. Forgot that. Thanks for watching. See ya.